Would I be the a-hole if I sign away the right to my kids? I am a single mom of two wonderful boys. I honestly feel lucky about how they've turned out. They're both giants for their age, but so kind and sweet. I share custody with my ex-husband, Drew. We've been divorced for 5 years now. Every year, it's becoming harder and harder to support us. It's all my fault, and I don't know what else to do. I was with my husband for 14 years, married for 11. We got married relatively young and had kids soon after. I remember the last couple of years feeling trapped in my marriage. Life became very monotonous and boring. I felt resentment for missing out on my youth and not being able to join my friends on night outs. Drew and I grew apart. We neglected us, or maybe I neglected him, and he stopped trying. Who knows, but it certainly wasn't exciting. All these feelings built up in me until one day I told him I wanted a divorce. I couldn't imagine living another month like that, let alone the rest of our lives. He pleaded for us to try to work it out, maybe go away somewhere. But once I said it out loud, I felt like I had a purpose. Once he realized there was no going back, he said we should split amicably. I'm not proud of the way I acted back then. I got a lawyer and went through with it. In the end, we split the assets, including the proceeds from the sale of the house, evenly and shared custody of the kids, just like he offered. I got child support, only $19 more per month than he initially offered. No alimony, and a pile of attorney's fees. The first few months after the divorce was great. I had a good support system, plenty of babysitting options as everyone was trying to be supportive. Friends took me out, keeping my mind off things and helping me make up for lost time. But after a while, the help dried up. Everyone became busy with their own problems. It was much harder to make ends meet on a single income. The apartment I rented was a big downgrade from our house. I was tired all the time. Whenever Drew had boys, I would just end up watching TV and lying around instead of going out. I've had one semi-serious relationship, but it's extremely hard to meet men who are serious about building something. Drew became very distant. I've heard of co-parenting situations where exes get along great. Not Drew. He'd never responds to my texts, unless it's about the kids. As the boys get older, they're enrolled in 3 sports each, and there are more and more expenses. I can't afford to buy them everything they need, not even half of it. Last month, I finally talked to Drew about it. I asked him to be more involved in their lives, especially financially. Drew flat out refused to contribute a cent more beyond child support and what he pays for when they're with him. I explained that I simply can't keep up with everything. He finally said they're welcome to stay with him full-time, and he'll cover all their expenses and be wholly responsible for them if I give him full custody and sign away my rights. He said I could still see them whenever I like, but I wouldn't have any legal rights. I know the boys would love to live with him. They're too nice to say it outright, but it's obvious that dad is the favorite parent. Am I the a-hole for even considering this? Would I be the a-hole if I went through with it? Edit. To answer some questions people have, yes, I have tried to talk to Drew about modifying the custody agreement. He refused any change to our current arrangement unless I sign away my rights. I also talked to Drew about increasing child support and told him I'd go to court. He said, go ahead, you'll end up with less. After last time, I'm very hesitant to go down that road. I don't want to tell the kids to drop an activity they love because I can't afford it. Now for the top comments. You don't sign your rights away. You can legally give him full custody with visitation. Then she also better be prepared to fork over child support. You're the a-hole. Why would your ex talk to you about anything other than the kids? He's your ex. Of course kids cost money. Get a second job if you need more money. Instead, you're looking to build a serious relationship with someone. Really? It sounds like you just want to dump your kids on your ex and pretend you're a teenager again. It sounds exactly like this. I realize that every situation is different, but if the dad pays half the expenses and child support and she still can't make ends meet, it sounds like she may not be working. In this situation, you have to find a source of income. Also, I agree she sounds like she wanted to relive her youth, but figured out she couldn't just go back in time and regrets it now. Why is she texting her ex about anything other than the kids? Sorry if this is harsh, OP, but you can make this work if you're able to get a job to supplement the support you're receiving. Even if it's difficult, it's easier than giving up your kids, or at least it should be. He only talks about the kids. What do you think co-parenting is? You chose to divorce him. You don't get to have him act as your husband just because you feel lonely. You need to get over yourself. And maybe you're right in thinking your kids will be better off with their father. I think this happened because OP lawyered up and played hardball, only to get a predictable amount of child support. It has made the ex resentful, and rightly so. I deal with someone at arm's length if they were unduly litigious with me. Yeah, sounds like Dad already punched the numbers into the state's website and thus offered her what the state would order. She instead got greedy and went to a lawyer in order to get more than what the state says she should get, as well as alimony. Lawyer knew they wouldn't get more, but happily went along in order to get billable hours. Next story. Am I the a-hole for calling off my wedding after my fiancé's surprise gift? So I, 30 female, have been engaged to my fiancé Mark, 32 male, for about a year, and we've been together for 3 years. I've always known Mark to be a bit unconventional. He's very creative and sometimes takes things a little too far in the name of surprise or excitement. Most of the time, I love his adventurous spirit, but this time, not so much. A couple of weeks ago, we had a small get-together with some close friends to celebrate our upcoming wedding. Mark mentioned he had a surprise for me, which I figured would be something sweet, like a heartfelt gift or maybe a romantic gesture. As the night went on, after a few drinks, Mark finally revealed his gift. He pulled out what looked like a box from a special jewelry store. My heart raced with excitement. I assumed it was a lovely bracelet or a special memento for our wedding day. But when he opened the box, I was absolutely stunned. Inside was a key to a house he had supposedly bought for us. I was taken aback because I had no idea he was even looking for a real estate. My first reaction was one of shock and confusion. I thought this was a huge decision that we should have discussed together. As I processed the moment, I realized the house wasn't just any house. It was a fixer-upper on the outskirts of town. While I understand that fixer-uppers can be a great investment, this particular house needed a ton of work, major renovations and repairs. Frankly, I had no desire to live there. Mark hadn't consulted me at all before making this purchase, and I felt blindsided. Normally, I would be overjoyed about investing in our future together, but the fact that he made such a significant commitment without involving me crushed me. I quietly took the key and told him we needed to talk. As we stepped outside, I expressed how hurt I felt that he had made such a big decision without discussing it with me first, and that it felt like a violation of trust. Mark got defensive and insisted that this was a wonderful surprise, a way for us to start our lives together. He said I was missing the bigger picture and that I should be excited about our future. Honestly, I just felt overwhelmed and confused. I told him I didn't think we were ready for this and that we should focus on our wedding first. After a heated argument, I made a gut-wrenching decision to call off the wedding. Mark was devastated and our friends were shocked. I had just ruined what was supposed to be a happy night and I felt horrible. Since then, Mark has been trying to reach out, saying he wishes we could talk it over, but I can't shake the feeling that he disrespected my feelings and my input in our relationship. I've been reflecting on whether I overreacted. Am I the a-hole for calling off the wedding after a surprise gift? Not the a-hole. Making a major life decision without you isn't a good way to start a marriage. It also sets a precedent for the marriage. Not only is it a surprise house, it's a surprise fixer-upper. That's not even a gift, it's a job. I don't think anyone would assume their partner would want to be left out of such an important choice. And most likely she wasn't on the title if he already purchased it, not the a-hole. That was my takeaway too. He buys it himself and it is not marital property. Correct me if I'm wrong, but if he bought the house without you, then it's in his name. He's the sole owner, but he wants you to help pay for the renovations? Nope, bad move. If the marriage fails, it's still his house, and you'll be left with nothing. Buying a surprise house before marriage? means it is his house. It's a classic tactic of manipulative partners to secure assets in their own name before marriage, then use their partner's contributions to improve those assets without giving them any ownership rights. Not the a-hole. Terrible judgment on Mark's part. But the real problem here was his response when you pointed out the obvious. He argued with you. The light bulb didn't go on for him that you don't make decisions like this without your partner. This is a sign that he'll surprise you with a new puppy, his brother moving into your house, or quitting his job to take out a loan for a family business, and then argue with you when you say it should have been discussed first. Plus, a fixer-upper sounds hideous. Exactly. Mark didn't just sign Opie up for a huge financial obligation she never asked for, but for a chaotic, messy life in a fixer-upper. Not everyone is excited by that. He took away her autonomy and demanded she be excited about it. My heart would have sunk, just like Opie's. Not the a-hole, and maybe this was just the wake-up call Opie needed. Next story. Would I be the a-hole if I leave the state, abandoning my family? I, 25 female, moved 3 hours away from home to live with my boyfriend, who was fortunate enough to land a government job, and 2 of our other friends about 3 months ago. This move was largely due to my mom, 61 female, consistently taking most of my money, leaving me with almost nothing to my name. She had surgery on her back this morning, so I took off work and returned home for 3 days to help her and take care of my high support needs autistic twin brother, 25 male. My 2 aunts, Amy, 63 female, and Beth, 69 female, and I were all under the impression that my mom would be discharged tomorrow morning. However, after the surgery, the hospital informed Aunt Amy that my mom wouldn't be released until the day after, due to the high level of pain she's experiencing. The issue is, I am due back at work that morning at 9 a.m. The day before her surgery, my mom dropped a bombshell on me. She said I owe her $6,000 before she will take her name off the car we co-own. I was 17 with no credit when it was first purchased, and the down payment came from my dad's life insurance. Between this demand, rent, and my upcoming car insurance payment, I cannot afford to take more time off work. Both my mom and aunts are calling me selfish for needing to go back home to work. They're insisting that I call in and request emergency family leave, which, to my knowledge, isn't an option at my company. They want me to stay and care for my brother. While it's true that he legally cannot be left alone, he attends a day program from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. 4 days a week, including the next 2 days. This means my aunts would only need to watch him for a part of the day. I even offered to leave later in the day that I'm comfortable with, as driving in the dark in my new area is challenging for me. But this was also seen as not enough. I feel conflicted. While I don't want to potentially leave my brother without proper care, my aunts have already admitted they don't want to stay overnight with him. Aunt Amy refuses to stay at our house because of the puppy my mom recently got, while Aunt Beth claims she'll get sick if she spends too much time around my brother, citing the number of people he interacts with. At the same time, I have a life I'm working hard to build, and I can't afford to jeopardize my job and financial stability. So would I be the a-hole if I go back home to work and leave my brother in the care of my aunts for a day? Now for the comments. You have 2 aunts who can step in until your mother goes home. Go back to your new life. You will not be the a-hole. It's time your mother understands you are moving on. You're right. It's time for your mom to understand that you're an adult with your own life. You can't be responsible for her and your brother all the time. Your aunts are adults too, and they need to step up. You're not abandoning your family. You're taking care of yourself. You've got a job, a life, and a future to build. Don't let them guilt you into staying. You're not the a-hole here. Not the a-hole. Your mother has stolen more than enough from you. I don't even know why you would go back to help her in the first place. Seriously, this sounds like lifetime of nightmares and abuse. Cut her off. Give the car back. Make a break. I have obligations that I cannot and will not set aside. Mother is forcing me to pay back my car deposit and is holding it hostage until I do. And since she took the majority of my earnings when I lived with her, I have no savings. The money I earn pays my rent and bills. I will not be staying to help because I have a responsibility to myself first, and then to my roommates who rely on me to pay my share of rent. I will not be staying. There are two of you. Figure it out. Aunt Amy, the dog isn't that big of a deal. Deal with it. Aunt Beth, wear a mask if you're concerned about getting sick. Those are my suggestions. Then leave. Last story. Am I the a-hole for having another kid and not spending enough time with my daughter? I, 29 male, serve in the U.S. Air Force and currently live in the U.S., but my 7-year-old daughter lives in Switzerland with her mother. Her mother and I met when I was stationed there, and our daughter was born during that time. When my assignment ended, I had to return to the U.S., and we agreed that our daughter would stay in Switzerland, as her mother could provide a more stable environment. For the past 3 years, I've been in a relationship with my girlfriend, and we recently welcomed a baby boy, who is now 3 months old. While I'm thrilled about having another child, my daughter has been struggling with the changes. I visit my daughter a few times a year and video call her multiple times a week. We've always been close, but since I told her about the baby, she's been acting out. During our calls, she's distant and often refuses to talk about anything. When I visited Switzerland recently, she was cold, avoided spending time with me, and said things like, "You don't love me anymore," and "Your new baby is your real family now." Her mother has also told me that she's been misbehaving at school, getting into trouble, and becoming increasingly withdrawn. Her mother blames me for her behavior. She says our daughter feels abandoned and replaced by the baby, and that I was selfish for having another child when I already struggled to spend enough time with her. She argued that I should have focused on strengthening my bond with our daughter instead of starting a new family. I've tried to reassure my daughter that I'll love her just as much as ever. During my visits, I've spent one-on-one time with her and try to make her feel special. I've also suggested bringing her to the US for an extended visit so she can see where I live and meet the baby on her terms. Her mother thinks this isn't enough and says our daughter needs more from me now, not later. Balancing everything has been incredibly hard. My Air Force duties are demanding, and while I've done my best to stay connected, I know it's not the same as being there in person. At the same time, I want to be present for my girlfriend and our baby, who also need me. Am I the a-hole for having another child and not being able to spend as much time with my daughter as she needs? This is complicated. You're not an a-hole for having another child, but your daughter is a child who misses having a full-time father. Seeing that her brother will have a full-time dad when she doesn't hurts her deeply. Ideally, you would live in the same country or city so you could be as present as possible. Annual visits and video calls can't replace the day-to-day presence of a parent. Honestly, I don't know what the solution is for your situation. Exactly. Kids internalize this so much. My guess is she doesn't see this as the situation being complicated because he can be a full-time dad, just not to her. Man, it sucks for the poor girl. My question is, why are there 2 kids and 0 commitments? It's like you have no clue that condoms exist. You knew you weren't going to stay in Switzerland, but you decided, hey, I'll just go have unprotected sex with anyone, and if she gets pregnant, then whatever. Now you're back in the States doing the same thing. Are you going to do the same thing at the next place that you are stationed at? You are most definitely an a-hole. Your daughter is 7, and you never thought about how having a part-time dad would affect her until now? You're the a-hole for not coming up with a real plan all this time, and for having another baby before resolving the issues with your first child.
Am I the a-hole for going to my ex's wedding pregnant? I, 32 female, have a daughter, 7 female with my ex, 33 male. Last weekend, he remarried to his new partner. Our split wasn't a good one as he cheated on me and admitted it literally 1 week before we were supposed to get married 5 years ago, leading me to losing almost $15,000 in deposits. As a result, we don't talk very much. He doesn't have any custody of our daughter as she is autistic, and has problems with large groups of people, loud noises, and bright lights, and he has put her in situations before where she has had breakdowns. He has supervised visitation. We normally have an arrangement with a wonderful nanny who goes with our daughter to his family events, so I don't have to go. We split the cost for this 50-50. Unfortunately, the nanny broke her ankle 4 days before the wedding and was unable to go. The only suitably experienced replacement we could find was double the price due to short notice, and my ex refused to pay half, instead insisting I go or I pay the difference. I refused to pay the difference because I'm not currently working, just started maternity leave at 8 months pregnant, so was forced to go or risk traumatizing our daughter. My ex did not know I was this far advanced in my pregnancy. He knew I was pregnant. At the wedding, multiple family members of his and mutual friends of ours came up to ask me about the baby and who I was with, my now husband of 2 years. I brushed them off as much as possible, largely because I wanted to focus on our daughter's comfort, but also because I didn't want to be accused of scene stealing. Unfortunately, this has happened anyway. My ex called me up on Monday to blow up about how I ruined his wedding deliberately as payback for him ruining ours. I denied this and pointed out that it all could have been avoided had he paid the extra for the nanny. But he hung up on me and is now putting me on blast all over social media. Was I the a-hole for going? Now for the top comments. I suspect that your ex wanted you to come to the wedding, so you'd have to see him enjoying the wedding day he robbed you of so many years ago. Instead, your pregnancy generated a lot of sympathy from his friends and family. He sounds vile. My sympathies for his new wife. Not the a-hole. Seriously, Obi sounds way better off not marrying that a-hole. You're a damn evil genius is what you are. 5 years ago, the planning began. After he destroyed your wedding, you knew one day you would have your revenge. You carefully chose and ensnared the perfect replacement husband, chosen specifically for his fertility. Then spending the intervening years carefully monitoring ovulation, you conceived at exactly the right moment to be far enough along at his wedding to steal the spotlight, but not so far along that you risked going into labor. Once phase 1 of your plan was complete, all that was left is to break your nanny's ankle. From there, everything fell neatly into place. Seriously, not the a-hole. Ex is a doorknob. It is big mad because he didn't think things through. Not your fault. Congrats on your revenge happily ever after. Been a long time since I've seen such a well-crafted evil plan. He told you to pay full price or attend. You chose to attend. He doesn't get to be pissy that you attended. Not the a-hole. If he's assuming this about him ruining the original wedding, then he's admitting he's an a-hole. He's right on that. Not the a-hole. And if having this child's mother appear visibly pregnant at his wedding ruined it, then it was probably a pretty horrible wedding to begin with. No, the person who ruined the wedding was your ex, with his weird attitude. Why was he even looking at you? He could have just, look at his bride instead. What does he even think a wedding is? Sounds like there might be more than one reason he doesn't have custody. Completely self-centered people don't make good parents. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for not giving my fiancé the family ring as an engagement ring? I, 27 male, have a sad and hurt fiancé, 29 female, over a hypothetical situation and need an outside perspective. Backstory. My great-grandmother was the product of an affair between her mother and her boss. Because he was already married and my great-grandmother was biracial, she was never acknowledged. It wasn't until her father was on his deathbed, his wife had already passed before him, that he gave her his mother's ring, and finally gave her the recognition she always craved. She loved that ring, and since then, it's been a prized possession in the family. My aunt was the only girl in the family, after my grandmother died, and doesn't have any children of her own. She told me that she would like to continue the tradition of passing this ring along to the next female generation, and said that she would hang on to it until I decided to give it to someone really special in my life. It didn't explicitly mean to give it to my future wife, but my aunt let me know that it was an option. Fast forward to now, and I proposed to my live-in girlfriend of 3 years. In the past, I had considered giving her the ring, but decided against because while I love her, she is a bit of an irresponsible airhead. It's not malicious or blatant lack of care, but she does have a habit of losing, damaging, or misplacing things. I'd much rather give the ring to a future, responsible daughter instead. and just ended up proposing with a $4,000 ring. My girlfriend loved the ring and was so proud of finding a guy who knew what she liked. Since we were in the early stages, my girlfriend was still in the habit of showing it off. Unfortunately, she lost it. And when I say lost, I mean she accidentally dropped it down the elevator shaft when she was showing it off to a coworker. My girlfriend was distraught and was almost too ashamed to tell. I told her that while I was upset, that I didn't hate her and would get her a replacement. She was so grateful and didn't care that the replacement ring was a lot cheaper and was happily showing this one off as much as the other one. My fiancé made a big post, and then all hell broke loose when a cousin of mine, paternal side, asked why I didn't just give her the maternal side family ring, since it had such great sentimental value. Now, my fiancé knew about the ring, but assumed that my aunt would take it with her to the grave. She didn't know that giving it to her was an option and asked about it. I tried to say that I would rather give it to our future daughter, but she countered that by giving it to her. It didn't mean that our future daughter wouldn't get it later. After enough pushing, I finally admitted my concerns about potentially losing the ring. My fiancé was very hurt by this, and while she hasn't said anything directly, she's sulking, and I've even heard her cry about it. Her sister's calling me jackass for refusing to give my fiancé the ring, and says that she just make mistakes. Am I the a-hole? Edited to add, yes, we did contact management about getting the ring from the bottom of the elevator shaft, but it couldn't be located. My fiancé stated that it was dropped when the doors were opening/closing, and her co-workers backed up her story. Yes, the ring was properly sized at the time she showed it off to a co-worker. However, she took it off to show the inscription inside. Yes, the ring was insured, and we used that money to get her a new one. Dude, she did exactly what you thought she would, except it could have been the family ring down the elevator shaft. Not the a-hole. Exactly. It's like, babe, I'm sorry, but you kinda did prove my point. But then I would expect that not to go down well. Not the a-hole. It would go down about as well as a $4,000 engagement ring down an elevator shaft, frankly. Not the a-hole. I would say you were the a-hole, but she literally lost her engagement ring. But even if she didn't tend to lose things, we're talking about a 150-year-old ring with enormous sentimental value on top of the actual monetary and historical value. That stuff is going in a fireproof safe. I don't know why anyone would even want to wear something like that regularly. I'd be living in constant fear of something happening to it. Not the a-hole. Your cousin and her sister are. Make sure all rings are insured. Not the a-hole. She already lost an expensive ring. I wouldn't trust her with a sentimental family heirloom ring. Put it away for a future daughter or granddaughter who doesn't inherit your girlfriend's butterfingers. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for leaving my brother's wedding reception early? My 35 male brother set his wedding date on Halloween, which was also my youngest son's 4th birthday. I was asked to be a groomsman, but I was transparent and told my brother and sister-in-law that I would accept, but also we probably wouldn't stay for the whole reception. My sons, 4 and 7, still wanted to dress up, go trick-or-treating, and have their neighborhood kid friends over for a small Halloween birthday party after. Weirdly, my brother and sister-in-law never really acknowledged that I said we'd be leaving early, and I said it more than once over the months after they set the date. They always just kinda skirted around the topic, so I said screw it. If it was a problem, they'd say something. My wife was nervous about this. She agreed we'd leave, but still felt guilty. I, however, did not. They planned their wedding on a holiday and on their nephew's birthday. They had to have expected this, and I was sure we wouldn't be the only ones with kids leaving early. Day of the wedding, my mom pulls me aside and asks, "Are you sure you want to leave the reception early?" I think Kate, sister-in-law, has a cake for son, and she's expecting that you guys won't leave. I told her, no, we're still leaving. We'll be there for the ceremony, all the pictures, and at the reception for about an hour or so, but we're still giving our son his day. If they got a cake for my son, this was never communicated with us, even though we said multiple times we weren't staying for the entire reception. They just assumed this would make us stay. So that's what we did. We left right after the cake cutting and yeah, they had a small personal-sized cake for my son and everyone sang happy birthday to him before their cake cutting. It was very sweet and I was grateful. Recently, we've visited for my mom's birthday, and my brother and his wife didn't come by, but I figured it was because of them not being vaccinated. Apparently not. According to my parents and sister, they're upset about us leaving their reception early. Apparently, I was supposed to stay and help them clean up like all the groomsmen/bridesmaids were. This was also never communicated with me. Also, my sister-in-law told my sister after the reception that my son's having to miss trick-or-treating 1 year shouldn't have been a big deal, and that we could have had a birthday party any other day. I haven't had a chance to talk to them, but I'm also not totally sorry. I'm sorry their feelings are hurt. That was not my goal, but feel like I communicated and compromised pretty well and they never said that it was an issue. If it was, I would have backed out of being a groomsman, but I doubt I would have stayed for the entire reception. My kids come first, period. If their wedding was any other day, I would have stayed for the entire reception. I might be the a-hole because he's my only brother, and I left what might be his only wedding early. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Ignoring someone is not a form of conflict resolution. If they had an issue with your plans to leave early, they could have and should have addressed it much sooner instead of buying a cake for your son without communicating at all. That's some passive-aggressive nonsense right there. If they can't talk about it with OP directly, and this is all second-hand gossip from others, I would ignore all the talk and carry on as if everything is normal. If they can't be honest with OP and they prefer to talk behind their back, that says a lot about their character. If pressed by anyone, I'd reply I'm shocked that anyone would be upset with a 4-year-old for celebrating his birthday, and flip it back on them. Yeah, at 4 years old, it's possible this would be the first birthday where the son actually understands that his birthday is coming up and wants to pick what they do to celebrate it. Can you imagine telling a kid that age, "No, we can't do the once-in-a-year event you want to do for your birthday. We have to go to Uncle's adult party all night and help him clean up afterwards." Not day haul. 1. Halloween is major holiday depending on where you are. 2. It's your son's birthday. Your brother knew this for some years. 3. You gave him a warning ahead of time that you wouldn't stay for the entire wedding to celebrate your boy and Halloween. I got married on Halloween a few years ago, but made it clear that if guests didn't want to come for any reason, we were fine with that. Honestly, the wedding only really matters to the people getting married, and these long events can be an imposition. Not day haul. You told them multiple times you were going to leave early. They chose to ignore this and then try to make you stay via mom and son's cake. It's sneaky and manipulative. The only people a wedding really matters to is the folks getting married. For everyone else, it's just another event they have to plan for. Sure, your sons could miss a Halloween, but why? Because the couple are selfish? Trick-or-treating is one of those things there's a hard cap on. After a certain age, it's gone. Last story is titled, "Would I be the a-hole if I have my brother walk me down the aisle, knowing it would hurt feelings?" This is a conflict I had with my mom recently that I need to figure out where I'm placed in this. So I, 26 female, have an older brother, Sean, 33 male, and half-brother Cody, 14 male. Mine and Sean's dad died when I was 8 and he was 15. Our mom remarried to Jack 2 years later. Sean never really cared much to have a relationship with Jack. It was civil when he still lived at home, but once he was gone, he didn't really choose to build a relationship with Jack. And he has always been okay with Cody, but definitely treats us very different. So I have a very close relationship with Sean. He was my favorite person as a kid, and when our dad died, I looked up to him so much more because he is so like our dad, from appearance to personality. With Cody, I do love him, but if I'm being honest, it is nowhere near the same as the bond I have with Sean. I treat them both like just my brothers though, and I try not to use half-brother around Cody. There is conflict between Sean and our mom and Jack. They don't understand why he wouldn't be happy another man came in and stepped up and loved everyone and want to treat him with the same love and respect he gave our dad. Jack and I get along okay, but I do not consider him my dad. And I do sometimes hate how he expects the same kind of love as I have always had from my dad. And he did admit in family therapy and 3 separate occasions that he genuinely expected me to love him the same and see him as my new dad. My mom also expected more or less the same and admitted it. But she said she would be okay with just allowing him the same respect and role in my life. I got engaged a couple of weeks ago, and my first instinct was to ask Sean to walk me down the aisle and to do a special dance with me to honor our dad. My mom jumped in before I said anything and asked me what I was planning, and I told her. She told me that would hurt Jack and Cody's feelings. That a better option if I won't ask Jack would be to ask Cody, since he's also my brother, and would be a tie to Jack. I told her I wanted a tie to my dad and the brother I have that connection with. She told me that since Sean couldn't even treat Cody the same, it would be wrong to shun his dad and then have this elevated role for the brother who doesn't treat him the same as his sister. She told me I would be selfish and cruel if I asked someone who has been against family harmony and who treats family members, especially kids, like they're lesser members of the family. And while I still, deep in my heart, want Sean, I know she's right and it will hurt feelings, especially Cody's, because it does upset him that Sean doesn't make the same effort with him as it does me. So my question is, would I be the a-hole if I ask Sean, knowing that it will hurt feelings? The other option which I'm kind of considering is walking alone or with my fiancé, but he wanted to enter with his sister/best woman. Not the a-hole. I would think an older brother walking a bride down the aisle is much more typical than having a younger teen brother walk you. A 14-year-old walking someone down the aisle is kinda weird. He's a bit too young to give away the bride, if this makes sense. I presume Opie wants to keep the tradition. It's not mandatory to do this, it's true, but everyone has their own choices. I would propose a compromise to involve the kids somehow, but not that. Maybe part of the entourage? Maybe an attendant. I could even see a teen being the ring bearer as well, somewhat like a mini groom with a responsibility. I guess Jack will already be a part of the ceremony as stepdad. Maybe the father-daughter dance can be with him? With a few compromises, as long as they're willing to do so, everyone can be happy somehow. Well, in reality, Opie shouldn't have to compromise with stuff like the father-daughter dance and such. Now, it would make some sense to make the younger brother a ring bearer or something. Not the a-hole. This is your wedding. Your wedding day, and you should be allowed to do what you want. Your mom and Jack can't accept the fact that neither you nor Sean has accepted Jack as a replacement dad. You don't treat him like your father because you don't see him as your father. You see Cody as a sibling, but not like you do Sean. You two have had a longer time together and a different bond than you do with Cody. It's the same for Sean. Sean has been there for you. If you want him to walk you down the aisle, you should ask him. Jack has to get over the fact that you're never going to see him as your father. Cody has learned that your relationship with him is different than the one with Sean, because you two have been together so much longer. Don't let someone use emotional manipulation to get you to do something for your wedding that you don't want to do. How do you think Sean will feel if Jack or Cody walks you down the aisle? I think you're going to have hurt feelings no matter what you choose to do. Do what you want for your wedding. Not the a-hole. Have Sean walk you down the aisle and suggest your mom and stepdad have a talk with their therapist. Their idea of family harmony is that their feelings are more important than anyone else's. Tell them they can watch Sean walk you down the aisle and enjoy the moment for the two of you and be happy. Or they can look at your photo album after.